Hello. I pulled out this video camera today because I think it's important to show the not so good days with the good days, because my whole life has been about keeping things real with maybe a little too much information, but that's just the way I roll. So let's get ready to ramble. Yesterday I put garbage in my vehicle, in my body, and today I'm feeling the effects, namely anxiety, more guilt, shame, just like I feel stupid. Like, why do I keep doing this when I know it's not going to make me feel good in the long run? Why do I go for the instant gratification versus digging deep and going within, calling a friend, journaling, all the things I know to do consciously, yet there's like this subconscious drive to just eat and numb. And I think for me, there's a couple things going on that yesterday I was just like, whatever. And I wanted to share this with anybody listening, because maybe you use something else to deal with discomfort. If you don't feel like going back and watching my 2 videos entitled Rock Bottom, in short, my drug of choice is food, sugar. And this has been my story since probably the age of 4 or 5. So welcome to my spa studio. It's a calming space, and I think especially for those of us who came out of high control religions, this is a journey of learning how to be our own caregivers, self-care, self-love, and forgiving ourselves and rebuilding our lives, no matter what age that is. Yesterday I read Amber Scora's book, Leaving the Witness, and it was like, obviously I didn't have the thrilling story of moving to another country like China and learning the language and having somebody else's culture be a part of what woke me up. But it was just so well written. I felt one of my favorite authors is Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote the book Eat, Pray, Love, and a couple other books that are really great. And it was a great book. And it brought up a lot of feelings, and it brought up a lot of memories and self-reflection, and maybe some of those things were kind of uncomfortable to deal with, and so I resorted to habits and behaviors that I've been using since I was a tiny little girl, chubby little girl. I was never tiny. But I just know in my gut, in my heart, that I will push through this. And as I pull myself out of this with help from my friends and help from God, and I don't think willpower works, because if willpower would work, especially when it comes to things like addictive behavior and bad habits, I would have won this already. Okay, so back to rambling. Maybe I'll show you one of the tools that I never do. See, this is the thing. It's like the cobbler whose children have no shoes, because it's like he can make it for everybody else, but not himself or his family. And that's kind of what I am guilty of too, is like I'll do these continuing education programs or other classes for helping my clients deal with stress, and then I don't apply them to myself. How's that working, Allie? It's not. So one of those tools is EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. And there are thousands of videos online. John Assaraf, I believe, is the name of one guy. I really like his style. But again, don't make these people your guru. Especially if you come from a high control religion where you just want to like click on someone's channel and get all the answers. This is not how life works. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, it's basically a series of tapping, and it, so in your body you have meridians, which are like highways of energy, and they have intersections. Think of it as like a subway system. If you've ever lived in a major city like New York, you have the subways running underground. You can't see them, but you know they're there. You can hear them. And then you go into the subway stations where a bunch of different trains meet. And so EFT is similar to that in that it focuses on parts of your body where there's a intersection of several meridian points, energy centers. And the one that's really great for calming yourself down when you're having a lot of anxiety is right over your thymus gland. So your sternum is right here, your breastbone. And you just tap on it like a triplet pattern, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you tap on it and you consciously engage in self-talk like you would if you were talking to a young child. Very loving, very gentle. And things I'll say to myself when I do tapping are things like, even though I ate a bunch of garbage food yesterday, I love myself unconditionally and I forgive myself. And you just repeat through this, so you'll notice if you do this cycle, and I do encourage you to watch other videos because they'll demonstrate it better. But you run through the cycle and you can literally feel your anxiety go down. Another channel that's really good is Dr. David Burns' Feeling Good podcast. And he is a certified, registered, up the wazoo, credentialed psychologist. And I know when I listen to his podcast and his words, I feel better. So I'm going to do that also for myself today. But a couple other points. So you have your thymus gland. This is kidney 23. It's kind of like your energy pack. So you hit these points, especially when you're feeling really low energy. And then there's a bunch of points on your face. And you just tap them. And that is a physical way to help calm. I think somebody is here. So I'm going to go check the door. It was Jehovah's Witnesses. No, I'm just kidding. They actually did knock on my door because I live in the territory that I wasn't attending meetings. And it was really funny and weird being like on the other end when like the doorbell rings, because I had 2 dogs at the time. So the doorbell rang and they just like burst into flurry of barking and excitement, and it was like, so I had to settle down the dogs and I had to put on a sweatshirt and I answered the door, and it was this young Jehovah's Witness man. And he saw that it was me and he was like, oh, never mind. I don't think he said never mind, but he just like kind of quickly retreated. And I'm like, oh, all this commotion for that? This is what I did to people all those years. And especially now as like a woman, like when my husband's not home and the doorbell rings, I look through the peephole to make sure. I just think it's a very outdated way of reaching your neighbors. Okay, so what was I saying? EFT, Dr. David Burns, Feeling Good, and not isolating yourself. Proverbs 18:1. Even if you're an atheist or an agnostic or whatever, there's still a lot of wisdom in the scriptures. So the last thing I wanted to do this morning was have a conversation with another person. I was just in this very introspective mood, thinking about Amber Scora's book and stuff. And one of my friends texted it and said, hey, can you talk? And I really did not want to talk. But I called her back, and it ended up being a very good conversation. I was able to just tell her what a mess I was feeling like, and we went from there. And she helped me remind myself. She reminded me, like, be kind to yourself. Like, we're all so hard on ourselves, and maybe that does stem, well, I know it does stem a lot from the programming we got, especially if you grew up in the organization, the programming we got that you're always making God, like, I remember thinking as a little kid, whenever I would do something wrong, like tell my parents a lie or sneak cookies when I wasn't supposed to, and I would be thinking, oh, I'm making Jehovah sad right now. And I remember, I think it was in our first house, so I was definitely under the age of 5. I had done something bad, and I was in timeout or whatever, being punished. And I remember thinking, if Armageddon comes, Jehovah's going to kill me because I'm a bad girl. So we have like that programming, that language, still like the residual effects of that in our subconscious. And so it's back to like house cleaning, cleaning out the closets of these thought patterns that do not serve us and are not true, and cleaning it out. And that just takes work. And sometimes when you're in a place of feeling too overwhelmed or tired or just depleted that you can't like clean your house yourself, then you pay someone to help you do it. And that comes in the form of therapists and counselors. And so I actually did make a phone call. See, I'm kind of like at this place. I've done a lot of therapy and a lot of counseling. Not recently. I would say like not for like the last 4 years. I heard somebody. But yeah, I could use a tune-up. It's like, I don't know how to change the oil on my car, so I go and take it in and pay somebody else to change it. So I think a little tune-up is in order, and I will share how that goes with y'all. But I'll keep this short and sweet, or not so sweet. Just to let you know, like, it's every day has its own anxieties, and that's okay. And I'm a mess too. I guess if anything, like, I'm a mess too. But unlike before, I'm so grateful to be alive, and I have hope, and I know this is temporary. Like, that's one of the things I'll tell myself, like self-talk. This is temporary. Like, it's like a bad weather day. It's just a storm. The sun is shining above the clouds, even if I can't feel it, and I want it to be sunny today, and it's not. It's okay, because there's always tomorrow. So that's my message for today. I hope you all are doing well. I do have more stories from other people to share. It's just a matter of kind of organizing the latest one I got so that I can read it coherently. And so that will be coming up. And the other thing I was thinking about real quick, see, this is what happens. I'm like ready to hit stop, and then I'm like, oh, this thought. But I know Jehovah's Witnesses will be studying in their Watchtower in the next couple weeks the part about, let me just read the title of the article instead of trying to tell you what it says. Bear with me. Ooh, Tales from Allie. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. I'm going to pull it up really, really quick. This is where pause edit would be useful. Okay. It is called Love and Justice in the Christian Congregation, part 2 of 4, which, interestingly enough, my friend told me, like, part 1 was back in February. Why are they splitting it up like this? So that's coming up in a couple weeks. And then the next part is love and justice in the face of wickedness. And the theme scripture they use for that is, you are not a God who takes pleasure in wickedness. No one bad may remain with you. Unless you're a pedophile in the Jehovah's Witness congregation. You can stay. And then the fourth part is providing comfort for victims of abuse. Song 134, children are a trust from God. And then they have this footnote. See the article, Love and Justice in Ancient Israel, in the February 2019 issue of the Watchtower. So that's like the first one, part 1, in a different Watchtower from February. That's weird. Anyway, I know there's some people on Facebook who have a group, and they're encouraging people who can handle doing it, if you've been like faded, inactive, whatever, apostate, whatever, to go to the Kingdom Hall that week. Respectfully and in silence. This is not like an advertisement for any Kingdom Hall crashings. I personally don't support that form of activism. Each to his own. You can hate me and shun me if you like. I just don't think it really serves a purpose for those inside, if those are the people you're trying to reach. Anyway, there are people who are going to be going to the Kingdom Hall those weeks silently, just to be like silent protest. I don't think I'm gonna go. I don't think it would serve a purpose for where I live, because everybody already knows where I stand, especially on the issue of reporting child sexual abuse. All the Jehovah's Witnesses around here, especially the elders, know how I feel about that. But it made me think of whether you think it's just allegory, a fictitious story that people created in their little telephone game, or it's actually history, which I think there are some interesting documentaries that kind of point to that it did happen. The walls of Jericho, and how they came crumbling down because the Israelites went around the city 7 times and blew their trumpets, and the commotion and everything, like the walls came crumbling down. And I think that's a really beautiful illustration for what's happening today. Is we, those of us who think that the 2-witness rule is disgusting and abusive, and those of us who think shunning is cruel and evil and all of that, and we're making noise, it kind of reminds me of like marching around the walls of Watchtower, and they are starting to crumble and come down. I don't know if it will ever completely come down in my lifetime, but I know that the noise I'm making is my part, and every one of you can make your own noise in your own way. Oh, and another guy to watch on YouTube. I'm going to do this right now after I get off this video. His name is Wim Hof, Wimhof, and I think he's from Norway or one of those cool countries. And his motto is breathe, it's free. And it's so true. Breath work, like we're not breathing enough, like breathing deeply, and oxygen is really what energizes us. So I know that when I'm like looking for that instant gratification, like food grab, because I think it's going to make me feel better, really what I need to be doing is drinking water and breathing, like back to basics, simple. So I'm going to do that. And his other thing is cold showers, like cold water, like he goes swimming in glacial lakes. But you have to work up to that. So do your research. Don't just like jump in a freezing river. You can actually hurt yourself. But yeah, those are a couple ideas for us to do. This is like a team thing. Getting stronger. Healing, getting stronger, getting better. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, one more thought super quick. I came out of my like spa cave, and there's the garden in the background. Plants are doing well. So I'm doing all these house projects, and this thought just came to me. Self-care, you kind of have to be your own contractor. You know, like when you're doing a house project and you need a guy. Do you have a guy who does tile? Do you have a guy who does plumbing? Do you have an electrician? Do you have a guy? And a lot of people just like hire a general contractor because they have the guys. Well, I got these multiple quotes for doing a upstairs bathroom complete renovation because it's like the original bathroom from 1941 and it's ugly. So I got this guy over and he gave me a quote and it was a lot. And I was like, ooh, well, I guess I got to do it. And then I got another quote and it was even more. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is insane. Well, then I go to work. I'm talking to the cooks. I'm like, do you have a guy who does tile and stuff? And one of the cooks was like, yeah, I have a guy. So this guy comes over and it's considerably cheaper, but he just like does the work. You have to go out and buy the tile and the grout and the floorboards and the this and the that and everything. You got to get your own plumber and your own electrician. And I think somebody else is coming to the door. It's FedEx. And so like I'm now the contractor. Well, maybe I'm not the contractor, but you know what I'm saying? Like I have to like do all the work of like finding the guys and the tiles and everything. And it's been a lot of work, but it's been like a fun education, like how much actually goes into making a bathroom. And it made me think like the work we all have to do into like making an adult. Because we were all kind of like just stagnant Watchtower children, even as like a 40-year-old. Like I was a Watchtower child. And so when you are like now starting the work of like needing a guy, like a counselor, an exit counselor, a therapist, a doctor, maybe like a nutritionist, like you're learning how to like live now and do all of these things that other people learned when they were teenagers and early 20s and went to college and like learned critical thinking skills and basic life skills that, you know, I just put on the back burner because Armageddon was going to like sweep through and fix everything. You got to collect a team now. And I don't know personally any exit counselors. I've had some people like reach out and ask me like, do you know any exit counselors? And I don't, but if I do, I will certainly like keep you posted. But I do know, like I have the same internet you all have. So like just go on there and look for guys, and gals. But word of mouth, like recommendations, and have these conversations with the people you do know in your life. Like maybe you think it's really awkward and weird to like have a conversation with your hairdresser when they ask like, what's new with you? And you can say, well, I started to realize that the religion I was in for 37 years is probably a cult. And your hairdresser is going to go, what? And then you're going to have a really good conversation. So that's like how it starts. And then you say, do you know? Because I need help with. And you assemble your team. So I'm just trying to give like, this is like more of my self-talk, like just giving anyone listening ideas on how to start renovating this. Your bathroom, your closets, like everything. I'm being figurative, obviously. But yeah, we're going to all just go up this mountain together and we'll wave at the various base camps when we see each other. And it's going to be messy and beautiful and fun and adventurous and sometimes not so fun. And this is called life. I'm feeling better. Do the Wim Hof breathing. You'll feel a little lightheaded. Do it while you're sitting down. Do not, if you're watching this video while you're driving, do not do Wim Hof breathing when you're driving. Do it when you are in a safe, secure place, sitting down. Don't do it in the shower. Yeah. Wim Hof. Breathe. It's free.